What's up, everyone? This is Garrett.
This is Jabin.
And if you don't know, now you know, the most charismatic man in entertainment, the Prince of Fresh Air. Thank you for having me, fellas.
Anytime,
Thanks.
anytime. So we are super excited to have our first guest on this podcast today. Very honored as well with the Fresh Prince down here. Yeah, we are super excited. We talked about this as far as like what to do, what to talk about, because obviously you guys know that our podcast is mostly centered around comics, video games. We are nerds through and through. The Fresh Prince here has some, I don't want to say some nerd because I feel like that's a little offensive saying you have some nerd in you, but
He got it. He got it. Don't lie.
No comment.
He got it.
but
No comment.
yeah, like let's say he has some superhero knowledge. We'll say that.
There you go. There you go. There you go. There you go.
And we are super excited. The Fresh Prince as well has his own podcast. We're going to be doing an episode on both. So super excited for him to be here and to join his as well. Like I said, this is our first collab, so we are just stoked. If you want to go ahead and plug your podcast real quick before we start, say anything, say a few words about it.
Absolutely. Well, it's 2023. If you don't know my podcast at this point, well, get from under the rock you're in. I am the host of the Prince of Fresh Air podcast. Started it in 2021. Actually, I'm lying. 2022. Tom Cruise. 2020. And I'm forgetting how long I've been doing my own podcast. Ridiculous. But yeah, so my podcast is available on over 30 platforms. You could Google it. Very searchable. I'm searchable. You can't miss this luxurious hair. And my podcast is talking from celebrities to the regular 9-to-5 people, to anybody with a voice. We talk about society, cultural issues. We've talked about anything from Black Lives Matter to gun control to even video games. I'm an actor myself, so I get the entertainment aspect as well. My podcast is all just about starting a conversation and having a good time with a little bit of charisma, of course.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. So, Jabin, if you want to go ahead and introduce what we're going to be talking about, because we're going to be talking about this one core thing, but we may launch off from there. So go ahead and get us started.
All right. Since we got the charismatic Prince, but not only the charismatic Prince, we got the controversial Prince. You feel me? So we were thinking about taking a little bit of us, taking a little bit of him, putting it together, have some magic. So we were thinking, what is the difference? And in my mind, it's what is wrong with the basically the new films that are coming out, specifically the ones that are strictly, superhero stuff like that. Than the way it was earlier, back when we were little or teenagers having fun, with the movies and stuff like that. So basically what the differences are. But one that I really want to really get into is the differences between, I'm gonna do like a little like movie to movie. I'll go as far back as let's just say Iron Man 1, just to be safe, and what the difference is with, like, let's say what's one that's like really like low, like Captain Marvel. So like two origin movies introducing two different states of of the universe, I should say world of the universe, and also introducing another threat into the universe. So for example, Iron Man 1, fantastic movie, not just an opinion, it's a fact. This movie was shown at a time where superhero movies were not doing great into most people's eyes. So we all know Fantastic Four, both Fantastic Four movies, which I thought was great, but a lot of people didn't like. Ben Affleck's Daredevil, 2003 Hulk, like we could go on. But Iron Man 1 was somehow different, and it really set the stage of making like a whole big old universe. As for Captain Marvel, the universe is already built, so I'm not gonna harm it too much. But you don't fall in love with the character. It doesn't have a huge emotional arc the way Iron Man would. And it seems like she's too bad aid to handle, that to where she can handle everything on her own. And what was so cool about Iron Man is that he couldn't, and he realized that, and he wanted to change. While Captain Marvel didn't really change at all. So I feel like personally for me, that especially between those movies, the character development very different and very little when it comes to like today's films. And I guess not a lot of people are looking for that because it's mostly like Michael Bay. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Your take, dude.
I may not be a doctor, but I do find this quite strange.
Oh my god!
Ah, yes. Yeah, I told you that's the nerd in him. I knew it. I knew it.
Can you blame me? Well, I say this. I'm avenging the superhero movies right now. I feel like I was having this conversation the other day at the park. One of the guys that usually work out with, older gentleman, he always asks me about acting and stuff because that's what I do. And he asks me about the current state of movies. And I tell him it's like, movies now are more about the action aspect than it is about the story. That's why people love the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies more than like the Tom Holland movies. Even though people might say Tom Holland's a better portrayal of the actual character, Tobey Maguire movies are more realistic and it was enjoyable. I think our generation and the younger generation especially want the live action CGI bam bam shoot 'em up type of action movies, and that's why a lot of superhero movies aren't about long storytelling movies anymore. People don't really want to watch origin superhero movies anymore. They want people to rush right into the main story. They want Hulk to start smashing 5 minutes into the movie. They want Thor jumping out of a spaceship and throwing his hammer around and knocking people's heads off. Um, I think that's one of the problems too. Is Marvel, all these other superhero creators, they look at our audience and they say, okay, we would love to do, origin movie, right? But the problem is people aren't seeing them as much as they want to anymore, and they already made the groundwork. So a part of it for me is Marvel has made it to where they did the groundwork already, so they could keep churning out all these movies without much effort because they know they're guaranteed 500 million at the box office with no hard work. They literally could just wake up one morning and say, you know what? I want to throw out another Captain America movie. Let's film it. We'll put it out next year, and they can guarantee at least close to $1 billion. And that's what generally no press. The actors don't have to wake out of the bed and go do media tours. And that's why superhero movies aren't as rich and story. Having a rich story and a relatable character. It's because now it's all about trying to make the money. DC. And I love DC, but DC, that's their main problem too. They rush everything. They're not fleshing out characters. You got a Ben Affleck Batman, then you got the dude who played Eric Cullen in Twilight. He has a Batman. You got Michael Keaton as Batman. It's like you got 5 different Batmans in one space. It's like no focus at all, but it's because of the profit. Everybody just want to put out money and make profit without putting a story. But like I said, I like the older movies, and I get why they do that because even for me, subconsciously, I do like it when the story picks up a little too, pick up a little earlier, opposed to an hour and a half. I gotta watch Batman relive his trauma as a kid. Come on, bro, get over that. Let's go.
Yeah,
not for real. Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely in a space. It's almost like wash, rinse, and repeat with recent movies because. If we think about, like Jabin was saying, if we think about the first Iron Man movie, even the first Thor movie, the first Captain America movie, on and on and on, at least for all of phase 1, they had to create, imagine a universe and build a story and have an end goal. I mean, if you look at Thor, it was about this pompous god who didn't know how to take responsibility, becoming human, learning to care for people and take responsibility, and getting back to his status of God, but to where he deserved it. And that's a good fleshed out reason to tell a story.
Right.
And that's how a lot of phase 1 handled their movies. But if you look at the recent movies and even some of the TV shows that Marvel has put out, and like you were saying, especially DC, it's more of a, okay, you know who this character is, you know this universe. Oh no, here's a new problem. They don't really grow at all, but they got to defeat the bad guy. It's lost its substance. And don't get me wrong, we're saying this as people who really like the Marvel movies, really like superhero movies still, and we'll watch them. At least me and Jabin, I can speak for us, but they have lost some of the flavor that made them such a box office hit. Not only just a box office hit, but a audience comic lovers hit when they first came out.
We know that there was something special about it, and now it kind of lost that that flavor and that specialness that we like from it, to where the Secret Invasion trailer came out and I was whatever about it. And that's something that I wanted for like forever. You know what I mean? And the fact that I'm kind of like, okay, yeah, I guess we're gonna have to watch it. That, you know, that's like a bad sign. You know what I mean? But yeah, go ahead, Garrett. Continue. I interrupted.
Oh no, hey, I jump in whenever. But
I'll jump in right now. No.
But yeah, go ahead.
Right.
But it has changed the landscape of what we expect as moviegoers, as what we expect as comic readers, because movies are even influencing comics at this point. I will say the good and the bad.
Yeah.
So it's very much, and I feel like we're almost spoiled as moviegoers as well, because
no, we are.
It's like we come to expect a Avengers Endgame quality movie from an origin story movie.
Yeah.
And it's such unrealistic expectations that people rate movies so low because it didn't reach their unrealistic expectations.
Yeah, and I think that's why, like, two movies, especially in Phase 4, in, you know, the newer movies, two movies which are origin movies really stood out. Shang-Chi and Wakanda Forever. Even though some people would argue that Black Panther Wakanda Forever isn't an origin story, but yeah, it is. Those two really stood out because it didn't have that end game level like threat or like factor, but they gave you enough to where you feel like something big is coming. You know what I mean? They gave you something huge. Like Shang-Chi gave us a whole different universe that was coming into play. And then Wakanda Forever, they gave you a different country that also has vibranium. So, and what does the world want from that? You know what I mean? So it gives you like something to look for later. While in other movies, it doesn't set it up the way it did for Thanos coming. And the way they introduced Kang as our new big bad was really cool, but then it wasn't important for like the next like 5 or 6, 7 installments. They put out way too much for like that installments, because you get introduced by Kang and Loki. Then after that, you do not hear him ever again until Ant-Man Quantumania. Like, that is ridiculous, because when Thanos was a huge thing, we saw him in almost every single major Avengers end credits movie, maybe in a couple other ones. Like, this dude was coming. You know what I mean? He was even in Guardians of the Galaxy for like 2 minutes. So like it shows like, oh shoot, they're building it. They're like, you know, like my man said, they're just throwing it out there, knowing that they can make $1 billion off of it. And at this point, like, something that I really read that actually like hurt me, just because I fell in love, you know, with this universe so quickly. Because I was a DC nut before I was a Marvel nut, because my dad had both comic books, but me and my dad, we connected over DC more than Marvel. But since I've grown to love this universe, the fact that Bob Iger and the whole Disney thing, and Kevin Feige rumoredly, you know, leaving Marvel after Phase 5, it sucks, just because you can see like everything's failing. And if you actually see the amount of people that actually like got fired, and the people that are actually like being hired for Marvel Studios and Disney Studios, who's helping out Marvel right now, it's actually sad because you can actually see like the credentials that they have, and it's not as good as the people that were like fired. Granted, I don't know, what's happening personally, in actual studios, but you could see that that influence is partially what's bringing down the quality of just entertainment for, I would say personally, for Disney in general now. Um, just because they're pushing out quantity over quality right now. Like they're putting out a whole bunch of stuff. They are milking Disney Plus right now. I'm pretty sure all of us know they're milking the heck out of it. You know what I mean? Not even just with Marvel, Star Wars with a whole bunch of their originals, and then their own originals, and trying to post like old movies on there, just and trying to get it like everything all together. But yeah, I don't know. It just feels like I had sweet tea and it's slowly going unsweetened. You know what I mean? And I could like taste the difference.
Yeah.
Being in the South, I understand that.
I mean, the sad part about this is I'm not even mad at them because at the end of the day, us as viewers are the ones that control how they go about this stuff. Now, Marvel has no incentive to change their formula. Why? Because they know anytime they put out an Ant-Man, people flock into the movie theaters. Most of my friends, anytime a Marvel movie come out, they're right in line before the movie even comes out to go see it. Me personally, after I've seen, oh god, Thor: Love and Thunder, I was like, what in the hell is this? Me personally, from an actor standpoint, I always appreciate good cinema, but the movies has been just bottom of the barrel. Phase 4 has been garbage to me. I just think that at this point they settled and they know that it's like a relationship. The beginning of the relationship is all good, your hugs and kisses and you're doing all these things, and then you get complacent, and then if you accept that from somebody, then there's no reason for them to change, and that's what Marvel's at right now. They're able to just put out they're more focused on quantity than quality, and that's because their fan base will defend them, to the last dying breath. Oh, Marvel's the greatest thing ever, even though they're putting out hot garbage, and that's as someone who like Marvel, I'm not saying that in a mean way. Will I be in a Marvel movie at some point? Cut me the check, but again,
Right.
it's I'm not even gonna lie, I will take a role, but it's like
Anybody would. Anybody would.
Yeah.
But the storylines, when you watch Black Panther, like you said, the Orange movies, Iron Man, Thor, even now when I watch it, it's still, I mean, you could see the growth of the character from then and now. Even if I don't like the last movie, I can't deny that Thor, Hulk, Black Widow, Iron Man, and these are characters. I was having this conversation too. One of my buddies is a huge Marvel fan. I grew up DC, always will be a DC fan. I still think DC has the potential to do so much great, but they just, oh my God, I don't know what they're
I
doing
agree
over
with
there.
you.
But
I agree with you.
we'll probably get into that at some point. But it's like for me, they took a bunch of characters nobody really clamored to. So realistically, let's be real. And I know a lot of people like Marvel now because they love the movies. But realistically, how many people was clamoring to see a Black Widow movie? How many people was clamoring to see an Iron Man movie? Nobody. Who's clamoring to see a Captain America movie? Nobody. But it's because Marvel took the time to flush these characters out, bring them to the big stories, and they made them these beloved characters. Now, the Hulk, for instance, I don't know what they did with the Hulk. I mean, She-Hulk made the Hulk
Oh
look like.
boy.
Don't even get me started on
Wait,
that.
let me tell you a short story. This is so sad. I watched the whole She-Hulk show, dude. Okay, I watched the whole thing twice just in case I was like being stupid. No, my mind was correct about it. Garrett hasn't seen any of it.
I've seen 2 clips. That's it.
I haven't seen none
force
of it.
fed him, dude. I had to force feed him 2 clips. I didn't even want him to see an episode. I don't wish that upon anyone, dude. I force fed this fool 2 clips, and based off of those 2 clips, he was done. I was like, That's what I mean. And this is why, personally, for me, no, I shouldn't say personally. This is kind of a fact because they said this. Marvel is turning into a joke, and it's scary because with She-Hulk, I'm not even going to get into what they did. I'm just going to go into why they did. When you actually look at the articles that the producers and the director and even the actress wrote, even in interviews, they purposely made it bad so that they can get Marvel fans pissed off. Like that was the whole goal of that. No, like for real, this is a fact. This is not me like speculating. They said this. They purposely made it the way it is because they wanted Marvel fans to be pissed at it and they just wanted to do whatever they want with it. And this was the director, one of the producers, and the main actress who played She-Hulk. Like those three were the ones that were like, yes, we're gonna make this really like the way we want it, and that's why it turned into a joke. And I felt like they were doing way too much, obviously, in the show. And my thing is, I feel like they should have introduced She-Hulk way later. Personally, I feel like this is way too early. I literally do not see her fighting Kang right now. You know what I mean?
I don't see her
I
fighting Ant-Man
literally,
right now.
and that's what I'm saying. Like, if anything, we need to hurry up and get Deadpool in this universe. Like, let's get his
Tomorrow.
fourth wall break. You know, yeah, tomorrow. Let's get his fourth wall breaking. You know, first. but but no, like it was so bad. But it's because they did it that way on purpose to piss us off. So after I heard that, I was like, oh, well then I don't need to complain about it anymore because they already speculated what I'm mad about it about. And they're like, okay, well then what's the point, what's the point in the next project? And that's scary, you know what I mean? Because at that time, the next project was Wakanda Forever, the Christmas special for Guardians of the Galaxy, which was fantastic.
Werewolf by Night.
Werewolf by Night, which I was scared about, but ended up being pretty good. But a whole bunch of other stuff that was coming out that was hard for me to catch up with, and that's coming from someone who reads comics. Um, so yeah, it that hurt when I found out that they made that as a joke because they perceived it as Marvel as a joke, especially with that one scene. I remember what I showed you, Garrett, the one scene with the Kevin, the Kevin.
Yeah.
That was a robot that made all the movies and was gonna make her ending for the season, and she ended up literally changing everything about her show just because she wanted it that way. Like it was too much. Like it was so bad, and she was dogging off all the movies that we loved on top of that, and that hurt as well because it feels very contradicting because Marvel built it with some blood, sweat, and tears. And then here's another Marvel project saying, oh, the guys are whack though. You know what I mean? It is like, oh, come on, guys. Like, really, really, Feige, you put that out? Like you produce this? So it's like, I don't know. It is turning into a joke. And like I agree with you, dude. Personally, for me, DC can be so much better. In the comic books, I hate it. I keep saying this. In the comic books, I hate Captain America, dude. I do not like him. In the movies, he is fantastic. But in the comic books, I'm not with it. Superman gives me more of that goody feeling than Captain America does. You know what I mean?
Right.
If I put up Christopher Reeve Superman right now, I'm already in. You know what I mean? Like nobody will give me, that giddy feeling of Superman just doing his thing. So and same with Henry Cavill. Like I love his Superman. But yeah, DC can be in a winning situation right now. They just need to do the same groundwork or better groundwork than Marvel did with starting with Iron Man. So I agree with you on that. But yeah, Marvel's just turned into a joke. It's rough. It's rough out here.
Yeah, but this is the point where this is when the people who marvelously, because I'm not one of those Marvel super fans. I don't read the comics. I'm not. I don't watch everything they put out. I don't. I'm not even going to act like I do. But like I said, I have a nice place in for them. I do like what they have done. But again, it's like, they've come to expect, and this is just goes to the whole movie experience in general. People don't go see, traditional movies anymore unless it's a big, superhero movie. People aren't going. So for Marvel, they know almost every movie they put out, ever even the most crappiest movies and shows they put out in Phase Four, still making close to $1 billion, if not over $1 billion. So for them, I mean, they could keep doing stuff like She-Hulk without a care in the world. Why? Because at the end of the day, they know they guarantee people are going to come flock and watch their movies. For instance, I know you was talking about She-Hulk, but Thor: Love and Thunder. I hated the way how they treated Thor. He was a big joke. It was like this whole, and this is another thing happening with superhero movies too. This whole pushing these political agendas and narratives. The new Shazam that's coming out. We already know what's going to happen with that. The movie's not even about him. I mean,
Right.
it's become. Let me get back there. So Thor: Love and Thunder is basically Chris Hemsworth and I forgot how you say the director's name, but that's their pet project to bring their kids up. Because when you watch Love and Thunder, it's basically Chris Hemsworth introducing his kids to acting. And I'm not, hey, as a father, congrats to him. I'm not trying to dog him for that. But that movie sucked, and I feel like they need to stick to what works, which is a good, meaningful story. Christian Bale was wasted in that movie. It was,
my
it was a waste of
God.
his time. Well, I wouldn't say it was a waste of his time. He got paid, so I'm sure he was like, I don't care. But
And he did amazing too.
Oh, he did amazing. And that's the problem. They need to go back to what worked, which was meaningful stories, flushing out. That's why when people go see, I'm not gonna lie, when Avengers and all that stuff came out, I was in high school and college, and the feeling of Avengers Endgame coming out was so intense. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody was like, man, I can't wait to see that. Now I'm just like, I haven't watched Wakanda Forever. I haven't watched Ant-Man. I haven't watched Moon Knight. I just haven't watched them, and it's because I know that the formula is not what it used to be. They took the grandma's old school recipe and watered it down with their version. It just doesn't taste right. For me personally, I just think that they need to refocus. Instead of realizing that they could just guarantee make any type of money, go back to what works. Sit down. Okay, so we have Shang-Chi. All right, so how can we make Shang-Chi start making its way over here to Ant-Man, and we could do a collab movie that way? Because, I mean, that's what the early success was. Taking Iron Man, Captain America, Black Widow, they made them a team, and they did it organically, and that's why everybody cared. Now it's just like Ant-Man is his own thing now. Hulk is just treated like hot garbage, and that's like the biggest name in Marvel, but besides Spider-Man. Spider-Man 2 was pretty good, but even then, nobody knows what's happening with Spider-Man. So it's so much going on that they just need to sit down, refocus, and get back to the true stories. And I think if they did that, people will actually start caring more. But it's because Marvel stopped doing it, so people stopped caring about the storylines and origins. Now they only just want to hear Hulk smash and Chris Hemsworth doing half butt shots on in front of the camera. But what do I know?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
You make a very good point, and I mean, I think that translates over to cinema in general, because these days, if you notice, there's 3 types of movies that are releasing. It's either branded movies, Super Mario, Marvel, DC, superhero movies specifically, or remakes of old movies and redos. Yep. So those are like the 3 main types of movies we're getting. I cannot remember the last time that I went to go see an original movie with an original story that had never been done before. That was like really good.
I was literally about to say Top Gun, but they just redid that.
It's
that
the second movie
I saw, so it's like,
now.
Crap.
Don't get me wrong,
so,
Top Gun.
I don't remember either.
Yeah. Top Gun Maverick's great. Don't get me wrong, I love that movie.
10 out of 10 movie.
But like it's not original. It's a take on an idea that was done a while ago, and that just proves that, like you were saying, it's almost like it's watered down because people are so used to brand name things. If there's a brand name on something, Nintendo, Mario, Marvel, DC. Like I said, those are the main ones because Mario just came out and the Marvel movies are still going. So it's like if you attach a brand name to something, like you said, people are going to flock to it. But the last time, I mean, I honestly, I'm trying to think. I cannot think of the last time an original story movie was a big box office hit or audience hit for that matter. So it just proves that there's so few ideas that people are coming up with. And even if people are coming up with ideas, there's so few production teams and studios that are willing to take on new IPs because they don't know if it'll work. And that produces less creativity in the movie scene, which it's almost scary because that kind of creativity is what made these amazing stories already.
Yeah, I want to touch on one thing just real quick. You don't have to play all the video games, watch all the movies or TV shows, or read all the comics to be a fan. I just want to put that out there because the reason why Garrett and I read this stuff is not to like know everything. It's just so that we can really fully immerse ourselves with these universes that we love. So it's not like, oh yeah, we know, more than you guys. This is for the audience because you just in case, you know what I mean? But we just like these universes and we fell in love with them and we only want them to be better. So just so if you don't know the comics, don't know all the TV shows, don't let that stop you from, having your own opinion and take on what you're watching because it's ultimately for you. You know what I mean? It's for you to enjoy. But yeah, I do want to go back to the what you two were saying. I actually want to put two together. There's only one movie that it was very like a huge political standpoint. This is way back in the 60s. It's not even a nerd movie. It's just a really good movie with Sidney Poitier. One of my favorite movies like of all time. It's called Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. And the main story was basically Sidney Poitier's character, obviously is black, and he fell in love with this young white girl. And the whole story is that them two are going back to the white girl's house and letting the parents know, hey, we're getting married tomorrow. And they only like met each other after like a week or two. And that is one movie that was heavily, not good because back then, black and white were not supposed to be mixed. You know what I mean? But it was so good because not only did they throw that like political in your face, they did, but they reeled in a good story and it has one of the most amazing scripts of all of cinema. I urge everyone to watch this. It's so good to where every single character in this movie with it has two sets of parents. It has Sidney Poitier, the young girl's character. There's even a priest in there. All of them have such good natural organic character development and you can see that some of them get better and some of them don't, but they're still doing their best with the situation that they have, and it's so like beautifully flavored once the movie ends just because you're like, wow, I actually feel like resolved after watching this movie, you know what I mean? And it sucks because I don't get a lot of feelings the way I would get from that movie. You know what I mean? And like you said, Garrett, that was a original idea. What can we do? And it's so cool because at that time, like that was black and white. That was like a huge issue. But I think that's what the beauty part of it was. Okay, what's going on in my surroundings that we can talk about, and how do we make that a compelling story? You know what I mean? So I feel like that's what we're missing with a lot of just original ideas because they're all just going to Netflix and not being watched. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Like, like for real though, and they're not only being watched, but they're actually like the story gets too off course, and it's not appealing anymore. But I feel like we need to go back to those kinds of roots. Like, okay, what's going on? and how do we make these connect with audiences again? How do we make them feel immersed in our story? How do we get them to, to naturally look at it and be like, huh, should be something I might want to watch. And then they come out being like, wow. You know what I mean? When it comes to like nerd movies, the only one that so far that has made me feel like that is Ready Player One. And I think I can give that a pass just because it was based off of a book. But the way Steven Spielberg twisted it into his own story, I thought was freaking amazing, and the fan service can go on forever. But it was a great story because not only was it kind of familiar, kind of like a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory kind of thing, but it gave you something else to look forward to. And so if you don't want to do like a crazy original idea, at least give us something to look forward to. You know what I mean? Let us be like, oh my God, I can't wait to see what's next. You know what I mean? And use that to your advantage.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just seems like everyone's like failing. When I go to like DC, Grant Gustin's Flash went so downhill so quickly. Shoot, the whole Arrowverse just went down so quickly. Um, and I feel like the Snyderverse had something going, and it was great. But then James Gunn came into play and was like, "Nah, take it out." I don't know. It's hard to find not only original stories, but compelling ones that actually make you connected to the characters and actually wants you to invest your time in them. Because that's ultimately what you're doing. Like it's not I feel like for us all, I think I can speak for all three of us, it's not just going to the movie and be like, oh, it was a good movie, and then just doing whatever we want. We go to the movie and we expect, like, oh my God, I need to fall in love with this dude. I need to hate this dude. I want to see them progress. I want to be there with them. You know what I mean? You want to be fully immersed in a movie to where you walk out of that movie theater and you're like, I don't know what to do with myself now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's one of the best feelings that you can ever get from a movie or TV show. And
Yeah.
that's just what we're missing.
Yeah. So Fresh Prince, what are your thoughts and your takes on that kind of stuff?
Well, the last movie I seen that wasn't a superhero movie, it was actually a movie at Movie Hop, so I didn't even buy a ticket for it. But it was
Fair enough.
don't tell
Hey,
AMC Theaters.
this ain't going anywhere. This ain't.
Yeah, don't tell
Facts.
AMC Theaters. But it was Ambulance with Jake Gyllenhaal, the dude that played Black Manta in Aquaman.
Mhm.
Amazing movie. A movie that did moderately well, but not nearly as good as it would have done 15 years ago. And the problem I have, and I've spoken about this before, is Marvel has changed the game for movies. And I don't even just blame them, but our society, our attention spans just aren't what it used to be. Now, when I talk to, for instance, my girlfriend's grandparents, they very much, you know, very talkative. They like the slow down pace and no technology and stuff. But for our generation, we're used to TikToks and Instagrams and everybody stealing everybody else's ideas, and our attention span is literally, if I don't like a video in 5 seconds, I'm clicking off, and even then, some people only give it 2 seconds. So the problem is, I think our attention spans and the movies are, like you said, I do agree. I think the movies, as an actor myself, I have seen how unoriginal the movies are becoming, or I have started to see more woke thing. I'm not gonna get to, because I don't want to get into too many political things, but it's a lot of like the new stuff that's coming out either pushing to some type of narrative or an agenda, and it's clear. I mean, even Marvel, Disney, everybody's starting to show their true colors about, oh, we're gonna push this type of narrative, and then they're not even hiding it no more. It's blatantly right in your face. And I think the problem is superhero movies has ruined the movie experience for everybody. You can't make a Training Day no more. You can't make uh, you know, let's say what was another a Bronx Tale, a Scarface. You can't make those type of movies no more. They're not gonna do well. And the movies that do come out, let's be real. I could do a poll right now. What movies besides Ant-Man is out right now? Besides Ant-Man, I'll say Creed 3 and and the new Super Mario Brothers. what movies can you tell me that's in the movie theaters right now besides those three? Most people can't tell you. Why? Because nobody
I can't
cares.
tell you.
Nobody thinks. I can't tell you, and I asked you the question. So, it's sad. It's sad, and I'm usually one who I like to know what's going on in the movie theaters. I'll tell you this. Like I said, I had this conversation the other day with Brad Pitt. No, I wasn't. But, I was having this conversation. It wasn't
Yeah,
Brad
she'd be
Pitt.
like, what?
It wasn't Brad Pitt. It was Brad Pitt's. It was his doppelganger. But
That's great.
I'm just being stupid. Oh crap! I forgot where I was going with this. I forgot where I was going with this. But you know what? It's one of those things. Like, for instance, I mean, Dwayne the Rock Johnson. We all saw. I know. I recently saw Black Adam.
Yes.
You would have thought that movie would have killed it at the box office, and it stunk hot garbage. And it's because one is a DC project, and two, it's people. Unless it's like you said, it has a big name really attached to it, or has a built reputation. I love DC. I think DC makes better animation movies than anything.
Yeah.
Over
Agreed.
come on. I mean, Red Hood and Death in the Family, all that good stuff. Batman. They make great animation movies, and these movies are hour 15 tops. How can they not put that same effort into their movies? And Black Adam. I like Dwayne as a person, but again, it's that movie is more about the violence than it was about the actual story. I mean, think about it. A guy who is avenging the death and murder of his son, and like I said, I like Dwayne, but I think he looked good for the role, but he wasn't a great fit for the role. Meaning he couldn't bring that real captivating emotion out. When you watch Black Adam, you just want to see the visual cool effects of him flying and killing people and throwing bodies all across the screen, which is fine. But some people actually want to sit down and say, okay, why is he doing that? You're not getting the story of he's avenging his family. He's not just killing because he's a bloodthirsty criminal. It's just a moral he's trying to protect and something he learned trying to protect his son, and stuff like that. But in that movie, it gets lost because the moral of the story is I'm here to kick ass and take names, and that's fine. But again, how you skip over a big storyline like that? That's like me coming out with a superhero movie. The dude got cancer and he's battling all types of health illnesses. But the main point that I want you to watch is him flying across the Empire State Building, throwing bad guys through a 110th floor window, and they crash into their death. I mean, the stories are getting lost. It's just all big CGI, blown up effects, which I like. I'm sure we all like, but the stories just aren't. The story, people don't really care about the stories, and it's the studios. They get blamed too. I'm definitely not letting them get by. But fans also has to take some blame because again, a lot of these other studios would churn out more movies if people came and gave them a chance. But most people just go see Ant-Man and leave. They're not gonna stop and see Ambulance. Last year, I'll let you go. I'm gonna just make this last point. But that was the point I was talking about with Brad Pitt's doppelganger. But last year it was a movie. It was an ensemble movie. I can't even tell you the name of it because I didn't even know it came out. But so in acting terms, an ensemble cast is basically all types of celebrities in this movie. So I had Brad Pitt, I had Angelina Jolie, I think Dwayne the Rock Johnson made an appearance, Kevin Hart, and you're talking about a multi-million-dollar budget project. It didn't even gross a quarter of what the budget was. I mean, it was like a $200 million budget, made $15 million in the box office, and I'm talking about you taking all the big names of Hollywood and you still can't get that. Like it shows you a pattern that people just don't care about that no more. People care more about the wham bam thank you man type of movies, and I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing, but when we look at our society in general, from Instagrams to social media, how we use social media, how we interact with each other, people don't have conversation like this. It's usually texting or very short word responses. And when you watch somebody's Instagram page or reel, you only watch the first few seconds. Either you scroll or you like in the scroll. But people aren't watching stuff like they used to. And that's a problem. Could it be resolved? that may be something many years from now, but I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Yeah, I that's one thing. I completely agree with that. One thing I want to touch on real quick, before we end here pretty soon, is one thing you mentioned is that, and I'm not going to get too deep into it because I don't want to like start this whole big thing, but you said that a lot of movies these days they push agendas, and superhero movies specifically. Me and Jabin talked about this a little bit when we were talking about our excuse me, we ranked all the Marvel movies in a recent series we did. So we were talking about it when we were ranking Phase 4. Phase 4 came out right around, 2020 when all the craziness started. And for us, Marvel movies, superhero movies, movies in general, media, is an escape from real world stuff. I mean, bringing a sight of important stuff that may need attention into movies occasionally, okay, that's fine, I get it. But when you start bringing real world problems that are either divisive or maybe not everyone agrees on or something like that, we want to go to these movies to escape that, to be told a beautiful story, to maybe sometimes see cool visual effects, something to escape what we're dealing with in real life and the problems that the world is going through. So when you bring those problems as the main problems into our movies, it no longer becomes an escape. It becomes another outlet to, like you said, push a little bit of an agenda or try and change some people's minds, change some characters from the comics, do stuff like that to your own narrative instead of giving us a fully good fleshed out story with a core plot that moves the character along instead of, like you said, pushes an agenda. So it's that's my main problem with the recent movies in and out of superhero movies, is that we go to these things to be told a good story and be, feel good, watch this cool stuff. But how am I going to do that when you're bringing the stuff that I was dealing with right before seeing this movie into my movie? It's then almost a burden at that point. I don't know. It becomes very hard to separate the two.
And that's why, like, and that's touching on that. That's why it's so impactful, I know, for both of us when we talk about Phase 4, because every time we talk about it, we all of a sudden get depressed. It's so funny. but but no, I'm telling you, every time we say Phase 4, it's all about the But it shows you why, like you said, like this was in the heat of the time. Like, this is when I know for sure I was at my lowest point around that time. I know for Garrett, he was at his lowest point at that time, and we both didn't talk to each other at that time too, which was even scarier, is because we couldn't lean on our best friend, and the only way we can talk, when it came to us not talking, was through what we loved, and what we loved was Marvel and DC. And at the time, DC wasn't putting out anything good. We stopped talking about the Flash. So then what's next? We had Marvel. And as soon as this stuff, Marvel stuff came out, we were like, oh my goodness, I saw the trailer, it's so hype. Then after that, we actually watched it, did not talk, because we didn't feel good about it to even talk about it to one another, just because we're so done with it. And yeah, and I don't think, like, a lot of people, get, this personal when it comes to, like, entertainment. But, like, again, like Garrett and I were at our lowest. And I feel like that's why we feel so hard about especially Marvel, because they were going to be that escape, because they were that escape for us. We would load up Marvel Spider-Man and play that just so that we can, like, get away from life. We would watch Star Wars and go see Rogue One in the theater just so that we can get away from life. And same thing for Marvel, even though we would have to stay in our room and watch it, we were going to escape somehow watching, She-Hulk, or something like that. And as soon as we did, nah, bro, like we were done. And it really shows that like if there's people like us that have put or were so emotionally invested to it because of what we were going through. Think about the hundreds, maybe millions of people who feel the same way or even worse, and they're making movies like this. You know what I mean? Like how many people were disappointed or like really depressed about it, or like now they don't feel like that same feeling of safeness when they watch it, or
Right.
they don't feel like they can just get a superpower real quick and help the Avengers out. You know what I mean? Because that's how I am. Like I feel like I'm one of the Avengers that I could just help out, take out the guitar. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I lost that feeling. I don't want to wear I don't want to wear my Iron Man shit anymore. I don't want to put on my Hulk fists anymore. I don't want to put on my Iron Man helmet anymore. Like it's just sitting. You know what I mean? Well, Captain America's different. That's why I didn't say Captain America. Like
Thank you. Thank you.
I would throw his shield all day. Don't even trip.
For
But
I'm wearing Captain America shirt for those just listening and not watching.
all right. And, no, but for real, like, and I feel like that's why Garrett and I actually went into anime, like after that, because we're like, hey, good story, you know what I mean? Like, hey, good stories, let's hit it, you
Right.
know what I mean? So that I'm not gonna lie, the anime has replaced that feeling that we feel about when the Marvel movie comes out. So it really shows that when you make a really good story, it really impacts people, and once you start falling off, even though there's obviously going to be people like you said, like going into movie theater just because it's Ant-Man, there's also going to be a lot of people that are going to be very disappointed because we're going to watch it. Like that's what sucks about it, is that we're going to watch it because we're curious about it. That we're going to be disappointed after watching it, you know what I mean? So that feeling of feeling like a little kid is when it comes to Marvel is gone, unless we go to like Disneyland or something like that, or Universal Studios. But other than that, it's kind of been like, yeah, like now I don't want to pick up my comic book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's gotten to that point. But that's why Garrett and I feel so strongly about Phase 4 in general, just because of that point in our lives. It was pretty bad. So
You know, it's a rough one. You know, I think it's a lot of things that need to change, a lot of things that need to be reworked. I mean, James Gunn leaving, even Batista's leaving, Guardians of the Galaxy, and you know, it's funny that Zoe Saldana, who people don't know, she played Gamora and Guardians of the Galaxy. Uh, Even she came out and she said, you know, I have fun at some point doing these movies, but now it's a chore, it's a headache, and well, she didn't say those. Let me not put those type of words in her mouth, but basically, she's displeased on her career now, and it's because of it's not a story anymore. It's just really just it's not really about the characters anymore. It's more about the action sequences, the pieces, the beautiful clothing that the characters wear, and it's just an overall problem that these movies are suffering. You know, I know, you know, people like the old school type of Blade, even the old Hulk with Edward Norton. I love that one more than any other Hulk. For me personally, Tobey Maguire. See, I like that, but
Mm-hmm.
Tobey Maguire was the best Spider-Man. Why? Even though it was realistic, people can. It was fake. Everybody knew there was nobody in New York climbing on walls. We all knew that because if if that was the case, I'd be doing it. But
yeah,
hey, no, but um, it was realistic when you watch. Even now, when I still watch it, sometimes when I'm on a flight, I watch it and it's just you can relate to him having to pay rent, dealing with family, chasing the girl of his dreams and all that stuff. It made it real and it made you feel like you can relate to him. That's why for me, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man's from Spider-Man 1 to 2, maybe 3, I know a lot of people don't like that one, but those two, especially with number 2, everybody made it to where you felt like you was a part of the scene. Norman Osborn chewed up the scenery. The guy that played Doc Ock, Fred, I forgot how you say his last name, but the guy who played Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2 chewed up the scenery. And his character wasn't some over the top, boisterous, annoying piece of garbage. It was a professor, family man, married man who just so happened something went wrong and he was fighting for a cause he believed in, but it was something that anybody could relate to. Now it's all about, political agendas and I'm gonna shove this down your throat. And some people may like it, because they may stand for that, and that's fine. That's your prerogative. But at the same time, just remember, most people go to the movies, for escape 2-3 hours. They get away from the outside noise. You just want to be in the dark room watching a big screen, enjoying yourself, eating popcorn. The last thing you want to do is sitting there and watch people say, "Oh, vote for Joe Biden." Nobody gives a crap. I'm not going to see Spider-Man for him to start parading around and Donald Trump's under. It's just that type of stuff. And I think superhero movies, as much as we love them, I feel like, in my personal opinion, they've ruined movies in general. I feel like I don't go to the movies anymore unless I'm going to see a superhero movie, and that's sad. I used to love
That's
going in high
so
school.
true.
Mm-hmm.
So
I used
true.
to movie hop all the time. I hope the FBI not listening, but I used to movie hop all the time. You know, Now the only times I actually watch movies outside of a superhero movie is if I buy a ticket, I have enough time. I'm like, okay, I got a couple hours. Oh, what is this movie? Let me go check that out. But I'm not willing to risk to go spend $25 on a movie ticket to see these movies. And that's the sad thing. I've started realizing that, like, I haven't been in the movies consistently since high school. I stopped going years ago. And even with Avengers Endgame, well, I'm lying, college, because Avengers was during that time. But like, I just don't go to movies no more. Now I just reluct to wait for it to come on streaming, or my other methods. I will not be a minute to on live audio, but I just, the movie theaters, I just don't like them no more, and I just hope that at some point superhero movies start focusing on the story, and I think when they start doing that, I think other movies could start making their way back. But I think the damage is done. I think the pandemic has ruined it. I think
Hmm.
uh, it's just not the same. We won't be seeing a Home Alone type of movie anymore. We won't see those type of movies. People don't care about them no more. And if they do, they'll just sit at home and watch it. I'm not going to spend $30, on a movie ticket to go see this when I can just watch it from the comfort of my own home. But if a Thor movie comes out and Chris Hemsworth is half naked again, I'm sure all the girls are going to run to the movie theaters. But that's just the name of the game. I'm not mad at Marvel. I just think that fans need to demand more, and I think that Marvel, I can't blame a business for doing what they know that is going to continuously work. Put out hot garbage. In my opinion, some people might love Phase 4, but hot garbage for me. And if people just keep spending their money, it's like Disneyland. It's expensive. You know how many people go in debt for it. You know that it's all about nickel and diming you, but people still go broke, go in debt to go to Disney. Marvel's doing the same thing. The only difference is you don't go to a magical land. You just go to the movie theaters to spend your hard-earned money. But there's no incentive for them to stop anything, because they could just sit back and be like, ha, ha, look at these losers. I'm putting out this hot garbage, but I'm still making $1 billion at the box office. So why do I need to change something that ain't broke? And I think fans need to demand that change. Marvel's not going to change it unless they see the bottom line starts. Okay, we're not making $1 billion now. We're only making, 500. Oh wait, now we only at 200. When they start seeing those numbers decrease, the quality would improve. But you know, if you like eating at McDonald's, don't expect filet mignon.
Yeah.
No, I like what you said though. Like with I'm gonna keep this short because I know we're running out of time, but like you said, like I really what you just said, two things that you said really like resonated with me is that yeah, we do relate to these characters, the originals. That's what really got us on. And I'm just gonna throw this franchise in, even with Rocky. Growing up, watching the Rocky movies, like for some reason I can relate to Rocky. You know what I mean? Like they always gave us something for us to care about that character.
Mm-hmm.
And not only do we have fun with them, we cry with them. We go through these emotional journeys with them. And Rocky has been through a lot. And now, with Creed, they're doing fantastic at it, but you can tell that a lot of these movies, and I'm gonna throw that in too, it's pulling the nostalgia factor just so that they can milk money out of you. And it hurts when you think about it, just because it's like, dang, I really care about these people, but the people making these people really don't. You know what I mean? They're really
Yeah.
pulling on the nostalgia heartstrings in the 21st century, dude. Like not even 21st century, uh starting of like 20, shall I say, like 2018, 2019 is when it really started like picking up like really fast when it came to like old stuff coming new, or old stuff coming into old stuff and introducing something new. So yeah, it really pulls on your heartstrings really, when it really comes to the characters that you related to, and they're kind of just, here you go, oh, and then just setting it on a, they're putting it on a, like a garbage can lid. They put all the steak and the vegetables and all the stuff that you like and put it on a garbage can lid, when we were used to, the nice plated, marble, what I mean?
Yep.
That's how it feels. It's like disrespecting the steak. Like, come on, bro. Like, that's some medium rare stuff. So,
Yep.
I don't know. That's how I feel about it. You know what I mean? But I really like that you said that. Just relating with the characters is very different now. It
Yeah.
is very different.
Yeah, no,
absolutely.
agreed. It's lots changing, but unfortunately looks like we're out of time. This has been a fantastic conversation. I have so much enjoyed our time here together today, because conversations like this are very few and far between these days, when you can just sit down and have an honest, I was gonna say one-on-one, but one-on-one conversation.
Right.
But I really enjoyed our time here today. I just want to give a special thanks to the Fresh Prince once yet again for coming on here, sharing his opinion, and explaining it very well. I'm honestly, okay, Shade's back on. I give respect.
Yep, that's right.
Yes,
Bow down.
But yeah, big respect to Fresh Prince. Guys, go check out his podcast. I'm gonna put it down in the description of the YouTube video and of the podcast everywhere. Please go check him out. Great guy, great content. Again, thank you so much for being here. Me and Javen appreciate it very heavily for, you being our first guest and just being super, straight with us, honest, just open. It's appreciated over the moon, man.
Absolutely. Let me just say this before we wrap this up. Like I told you, I usually charge people, but I'm not going to. But I had a good time. I had a great time, and luckily I was able to tell Scarlett Johansson I'll reschedule our date for later. So yeah, I got saved.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if I'd have that strength.
I'll see y'all later. We need to reschedule, but I need to go clap. You know what I mean?
Hey, a little game from a word from the Prince to you. When you're the most charismatic man at the table, you don't wait nobody. People wait for you. Just saying.
Good point. Good point. All right, but that's gonna do it for this time, guys. So thank you so much for listening and or watching. Very much appreciate it. And we will see all of you next time. Bye, guys.
See you later, guys.